Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in a co-host's case, good night. Because there is only two of us here this week. The other one is celebrating his birthday, so he's probably snoring off however much booze he had last night. Nathan, do we have a status update of our very sleepy co-host?
So about that, the last time I talked to him was about 5 a.m. Uh, well, not when I talked to him, the last time he messaged me. If I had to guess right now, I would say, Good morning, Hangover City! Also, I would like to say at this moment to our very dearly departed co-host, Ben, happy official birthday.
Yes, mate. Happy official birthday from me and the producer as well.
You know, it's funny when you go back and you hear it because he telegraphed this for me 2 weeks in advance, for you about a week. I didn't actually think it would be a case where nobody could reach him after about 4 a.m., 5 a.m. But you know what? He partied hard, and you have to respect that. Respect the hustle always. And that's a lesson to all of you kids at home. When you get older and you feel like you need some of the alcohol, make sure to play to win. Don't just play to play.
Yeah, just remember, kids, when you have a party at your mum and dad's house, you're always going to get in trouble. You have a party at your house, you're never going to get in trouble with anyone but yourself.
And more important than that, if you do decide to have a party at mom and dad's house because you know you're going to get in trouble anyway, trash as much of it as you can.
Just make sure you have
Because
Beastie Boys playing out when you actually do.
because then it's funny. Did you say Beach Boys or Beastie Boys?
Beastie Boys, you've got to find
Oh,
a party.
see, I thought you said Beach Boys, and I would just love to. I mean, I would have loved to see my parents' reaction if I ever trashed the place. They come in and it's, wouldn't it be nice if we could wake up and just, it's funny. Funny
Yeah.
as hell.
Um, our topic this week is actually worthy of the three of us, but unfortunately Ben's not here, so unfortunately it's just me and Nathan.
Yeah, it's really his loss, though.
Yeah, it
Because
is.
this is a good one.
It is. I will say that news will be short because I have a feeling that this conversation will be very long. So I'll start very quickly with Amazon. Actually, I'll tell you what I did start watching on. What I did finish, Class of '07 on Amazon, which is an apocalyptic style horror about a load of former classmates in Australia who. Usually, when we say the apocalypse, it's usually like zombies or nuclear fire. Well, this time it's actually about water has literally, I think water, you could say water has probably gone to above the level of, say, the Empire State Building, and everything under that water level has just been trashed.
In Australia,
Yeah, it is Aussie based.
oh, throw another shrimp on the barbie, mate. Well, where's the
Yeah.
barbie? What, up on the penthouse, of course.
Mm.
We got
Um,
like 2 feet before it goes under. Throw the ship on there and say, help me, God, make sure it's spicy.
yeah. I say this because I had Megan from it on this week. Absolutely lovely lady, and probably yet again another lady who made me feel guilty for my quiz.
And that's happening to you a lot lately.
I know. The thing is, I've just turned 40, so I guess I'm feeling a bit more sympathetic than I usually am.
It's the midlife crisis. No, 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 no.
It's something of a midlife crisis.
You're the guy who is always like, my soul is as cold and black as my quizzes. Now you're thawing out. This
I
is
am falling
not
out
good.
quite badly.
This is not good for anyone, Dean.
It's not. Anyway, back to the news. Amazon is looking more and more to look more of its own IP, especially now after acquiring MGM, which includes properties like RoboCop, Legally Blonde, Fame, Stargate, Barbershop, Magnificent Seven, Pink Panther, and the Thomas Crown Affair. Personally, don't even bother with RoboCop reboots. I'm just going to say of the titles that there is. We had a RoboCop reboot. It sucked. Legally Blonde, I feel, has been too much of an iconic trilogy that it cannot be redone.
See, I
Fame,
respectfully disagree with you on Legally Blonde. I'm going to tell you
oh,
why.
right, you're going to tell me why?
Can you imagine? Because Amazon owns MGM now. Can you imagine Legally Blonde, but it's all Alexas?
Oh God, no.
It would be the world's first AI acted movie.
Oh no.
It would be so funny. Them trying and failing to make all of these jokes. It would be hilarious.
Fame's sort of already had a soft reboot. I don't really remember. I can't remember how well
It's
it
not
did.
good.
Yeah, it's not. Not to mention the fact that you don't have Irene Cara's t- uh, iconic song in the background as well. Stargate, as to be fair with you, the movie did all right. I think the movie was quite good, but it's not one of those movies where I kind of think on a night, when I'm relaxing, like, right, what movie do I want to watch? Stargate doesn't really come up in my list. Although I will say everything, TV series after that, SG1 is just brilliant.
Yeah.
And I know that because my dad was a big fan of it, and he doesn't like anything.
Well, the thing is, when it comes to Stargate, except for SG1, because I'm 100% with you on SG1, it's just like, okay, but I have Star Wars.
Yeah.
Why do I need Stargate? Or okay, but I have Star Trek: The Next Generation. Why do I need Stargate? It's just kind of there in the number 3 spot, and I can only take so many space operas. I'm sorry. That
Yeah.
being said, Star Trek Picard, go ahead and watch it. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Season 3 is a lot of fun.
And the worst thing is the season finales next week.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say too much, but I was genuinely shocked by episode 9.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what it is, but the fact is, if you are a Trekkie and you have either Paramount Plus or Amazon Prime, depending on where you are, because it's different for every territory. Oh my God! Please watch episodes 1 to 9, but mainly 9. Speaking of which, Mandalorian finally came somewhere decent in episode 9.
We were starting to get a little worried. Yes.
We are getting worried now. I'm not going to say what it is because it genuinely you do need to watch it. Although I did show Nathan a theory this week.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I'm not going to say what the theory is.
Do you want to go over it honestly? Because I'm going to be perfectly frank with you. I took a glance at it and I'm like, no, Mando, I'm not caught up yet. I'm not caught up yet. I don't want to. I don't want to see it.
Right, in that case, then no. But just just for a brief interaction, so you know what it is. There's a theory going around that, as usual in Star Wars, there's a mole somewhere. Now, the theory, which I actually showed Nathan and I still do have, indicates that a certain Mandalorian might be a certain member of a Clone Wars TV series. I'm not going to say who it is because
Yeah.
too much, but there is some compelling evidence. Granted, it's only a theory, but the best theories always have a lot of significant evidence. And to be brutally honest, there is some significant evidence in there. But I'm not going to say what it is. Hopefully, we'll have some answers in episode 10 next week. Do you know what? Next week's really a bit soul crushing because Star Trek Picard will be finishing next week. Mando's finishing next week.
Will it be soul crushing though? Like, is season 3 Picard's last season? Because I know it's not Mando's.
They say it's supposed to be, but the thing is, to be honest with you, everyone wanted a Liam Shaw spin off, but that's not happening now.
No.
But
No.
I honestly would have loved a Liam Shaw spin off.
At the end of the day, though, I think everybody's just going to tighten up their purse strings a little bit. Every
Yeah.
studio.
Ooh,
So, that being said, though, if it is Picard's last episode, no, no, season 3 is your best season by far. No,
they say it's the last season, but if it's the best season and viewership is good, they may even keep it on. It's like, but to be fair, I'd rather have a season that finished well, but there's still a chance of a fourth season than one which left it open ended and then they decided not to renew it. But
yeah, no, I'll give you that too.
I do know for a fact that Star Trek Discovery was cancelled, so that's one less. Discovery, I didn't mind, but I don't know.
Whatever happened to Star Trek Lower Decks?
Lower Decks is having a season 4.
Okay.
I don't know when it's coming back, but I do know that Strange New Worlds has had its season 2 teaser trailer. I think it was yesterday. Haven't seen it yet, but oh my god, I love Strange New Worlds so much.
Good on you.
Not really a fan of it though. So
Uh,
yeah,
I'm sorry. I can really only get into certain parts of Star Trek and Star Wars, and maybe it's me, and maybe it's just the lore of things. But I can only devote so much of my time to those space operas. For me, Picard is fantastic,
oh it is.
season 3 especially, and Lower Decks. As much as people were mixed on it at the time,
I
I can
like it.
remember. I can remember watching it and think to myself, you know what? Pretty funny. Like honestly, pretty funny. If you're going to do animated Star Trek, this would be a fairly decent way of doing it, getting around it if you want it to be in your own sort of timeline. It's fine. But beyond that, I'm sorry, I've got things to do. I've got projects in the back end that I'm always working on or trying to think of. I'm having to fix one of my parents' friends' computers because they're running incredibly slow. And then when you open it up, you see 3 different antivirus programs on it running at the same time.
Oh
Well, no
boy,
wonder it's running slow.
yeah.
But that's a story for another day when I have way more alcohol in me.
Bless you.
But
Back to the topic in hand.
yes, the topic,
Um,
the reason why you're all here.
yeah. Oh, sorry. Back to the news. Now, as far as there is a few that I would like to see, because I'd like to see another crack at RoboCop, but I would like one that's sort of along the lines of what the original was, because I just couldn't get behind the new one. I just really couldn't. I watched it and I was like, this does not excite me like the '80s version does. Bearing in mind, I was about I was about 4 years old, 5 years old when
Yeah.
I first watched it, and I was like, I really shouldn't be watching this, but I bloody love
Oh,
it.
okay. So here's the thing about RoboCop, and I'm going to compare it to T2
It is.
because yeah. So here's the thing. T2 is genuinely a great movie. You can go in and watch it with having no knowledge of the Terminator and still think it's a damn good movie. It is fantastic. RoboCop to me, you would have to have knowledge of, or at least a passing knowledge of Terminator in
Yeah,
order to get behind RoboCop. And that to me is the problem with it. It exists fine on its own, but it doesn't have a good enough story to be launched on its own merit. You have to have seen something else in order to go about it.
let's not forget that RoboCop was loosely inspired by Blade Runner.
Yeah.
So there is, to be honest with you, I don't really know the entire catalog of MGM. I know we've just given examples like RoboCop, Legally Blonde, Fame, Stargate. There is a lot on there that you probably shouldn't reboot. I mean, Pierce Brosnan's Thomas Crown Affair, I thought that was a great movie. Shouldn't be rebooted. Pink Panther definitely shouldn't. Not because it's not a good franchise, it's just because look what happened the last time they rebooted it.
See, I disagree. I think Pink Panther should be rebooted because of what happened last
I'm
time.
just saying that, yeah. But to be fair, if someone rebooted it and said, well, we couldn't make it any worse.
Well, that that's part of the reason why I would say reboot it. But the other reason is a lot of the Pink Panther stuff that we look at as great was done by the DePatie Freeling productions of the 1960s. That's where you got your original Pink Panther of. I've seen what you can do if you get a talented enough team who cares enough about an IP to bring it into a new generation. If you look particularly at DuckTales 2017, you can
Yeah,
see, well, this is a pays a lot of homage to the original 1980s series, but it sticks close and but it's good enough to stand on its own and in some cases be even better than the original. And I'm saying this is somebody who loves DuckTales 1983 or 1987. The
who
Pink
does?
Panther stuff in the 1960s was done on a limited budget with DePatie Freeling, and it's good, but its shortcomings can show. If you get a good enough team and if you throw enough money at it, especially since you've got stuff from HBO Max and WB saying essentially they don't care so much about animation right now. You could do great things and get those animation buffs on your side if you do it right, if you've got a team that's passionate enough behind it. So, with all due respect, like I'm not going to talk about the Steve Martin Pink Panther reboot.
Nobody wants to
Steve Martin Black Panther. Now I want that. But I don't. Yeah, we don't talk about the Steve Martin Pink Panther.
No, just
but
like we don't talk
but
about
you
Project
can.
X.
Yeah, exactly. But you can look at the Pink Panther as the 1960s and say, you know what? That's got potential. We can do something with that if we've got the people behind it to do it.
Just briefly, Nate, I'm just going to move it on quickly. NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, houses a habitat where 4 volunteers will live and work as if they are on Mars. Along with doing research, personal time can be spent in a gym or a lounge playing board games and PlayStation 4. That's actually a little bit cheap, if you ask me, because
no PlayStation 5? What the hell?
This is NASA. They can afford $500, surely.
Exactly. And what the hell? I'm sorry. What are those TVs? Like 720? Come on, folks. Get with the times. I love my PS4.
I do as well.
But my PS5 is really where it's at. And you can't even talk about chip shortages anymore. For the love of God. Sony has finally gotten somewhere with its supply chain. So come on, NASA, blow the extra, I don't know how much, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 you would need, and get gaming in the next generation. My God. Cheapskates.
I know, it's bloody shocking. They can spend millions, 100 millions, billions on shuttles and all that, but they can only afford a PS4. I think they've got the priorities a bit wrong.
I'm sorry, is it even the Pro model?
Probably not. Doesn't even say, just says PS4, but I bet it's not.
I have a singular PlayStation 4. Great Hawkins. We'll use it in space.
Yeah.
Yay.
I know it's gaming related, but I just want to say this. The Library of Congress has selected Nintendo's Super Mario Bros. Theme to be the first video game track enshrined in the National Recording Registry. Can I just say that's like about 40 years too long?
Oh my God! But what a jump forward! Actually, if you don't mind, Dean, I've got a special guest who would like to say a few things about that.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Mr. Connolly, you are here on I'm here on the Finalcut Presents, the Director's Cut podcast. Hello, my name is Mario. I am not the Mario like that movie from the 1990s would have you believe, though. I would just like to say congratulations to Mr. Miyamoto and, of course, Mr. Koji Kondo for orchestrating my wonderful theme that goes da 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 da. Try listening to that over and over again, hours at a time, for over 40 years, and you would question your sanity ever so slightly. However, it is a fantastic theme, and what Dean said is absolutely right. It should not have been that long to get in there.
Yeah. Just briefly, Super Mario Bros., as in the movie, has passed $500 million at the box office. Becomes the biggest video game adaptation of all time, beating out Warcraft, Detective Pikachu, and Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay. I'm not sure if it deserves, because I haven't seen the Mario movie yet.
I haven't yet. We are planning to watch it. We would have watched it last week had we not had car trouble.
Yeah. No. And that makes sense. I've heard good things.
So have I.
From everywhere around about how faithful of an adaptation it is. I've heard nothing but good things. And if you were so lucky enough to have heard the song Peaches, which is up for an Oscar, by the way.
It's actually.
You could see why it just sounded like whoever was doing this had so much fun making the movie, and it's a joy to see.
Question, Nathan. Would you like to get married at an F1 venue?
Not particularly, unless there was something huge behind it. Like, I'm sorry, would Lewis Hamilton give me away? Not my bride, but me.
You never know. You might even get someone Italian, but then again, knowing how Italians have been nowadays in F1, they'll probably cock it up, or
Oh,
or the engine,
wine, and now this
or the
again.
engine on the way to the wedding will
you
blow
you
up.
have one issue with F1 manager, and you won't let anyone forget it. Oh, I need a new team. I need a new challenge. Okay, let's pick Romero. Well, that's too hard. What driver I have is too good.
Just so you are aware, that is Ferrari's real life strategy now. The engine doesn't want to turn over. Everyone, basically, I could strategize better than Ferrari's actual strategy team can. And by the way, big shout out to Red Bull's, I'll say, strategy lady Hannah Schmidt, who basically on her own has outclassed all of Ferrari all of last year and this year. She's actually quite smart, you know. But anyway, getting back to the point, you can now actually get married. F1 fans, you can now officially get married at the Enzo Dino Ferrari International Circuit in Imola. I'll just take you through what I've got here. Weddings and civil unions will also be celebrated in the Ayrton Senna Hall, granted on free loan. The space named after Brazilian three-time champion. It said champion here, but it is three-time. Overlooks the square at the entrance to the Autodrome just below the tower. How much do you think that is? It'll be in euros, by the way.
Is catering included?
I'm going to say it is.
Okay.
Judging by what it is on here.
Okay. Do you have F1 drivers present?
Probably not.
Okay. And more important than that, how many guests can you have at this wedding?
I'm assuming it's just to hire everything out. I don't actually think anything's included with it. But then again, that's just all I've got here. It's like
35,000 £35,000.
No.
Higher or lower?
There's actually two here. There's one for couples residing in Imola and non-residents. Do you want me to tell you?
Yes.
€410 for couples residing in Imola and €820 for non-residents.
Oh, that's cheap.
Yeah. So whereas
really cheap.
You could go to Silverstone and probably have something for about 4 times that. Hell, if you went to Vegas with the amount of extortionate prices that they have, it would probably cost you about $6,000 to get married at Vegas.
Nah, you can do it for $27 if you know what you're looking for. Get one of those quickie wedding chapels, have yourself a nice Vegas wedding with a fat Elvis impersonator. You can get it done for $27.
Here's the thing, though. I will only get married at an F1 track if someone gets me a V10 engine F1 car. So instead of me hearing, here comes the bride in the traditional way, I have 2 F1 cars playing Here Comes the Bride with V10 engines. That is the only way I will ever get married to an F1 venue. It's not as if Ferrari's, not that far away anyway.
I could just imagine you and the producer getting married. She goes through all the trouble to hire the script.
Yeah,
and then
I'll be like, no,
and then as she's coming down, because the script starts playing, and then all of a sudden you hear a giant V10 engine going, vroom, 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 vroom.
That would just be bad. And then for my honeymoon, I would actually spend the track day in Monza, which isn't that far away, actually. Actually, I'll keep it on the F1, actually. F1 boss Stefano Domenicali has admitted that production of the new Brad Pitt movie about F1 will be quite invasive on Grand Prix weekends this season, because it is actually filming is supposed to start production in the coming weeks from a base at Silverstone, and some of the action is to be shot around the real race event. And he's actually been quoted as saying, "We've already seen some of what..." Oh, no, that's the last bit, actually. Do apologise. It will be the first movie when basically they will be within the racing event. It will be quite invasive in terms of production.
That is a great advertising slogan. Hey, guys, you want to go see this Brad Pitt movie that screwed up all your races?
Yep. I do actually have Greg Maffei, who is the CEO of Liberty Media, who actually own F1. He's put, we've already seen some of what they're going to do and how we're going to skin these cars. They took the technology from Top Gun, and it's going to be amazing. To be honest with you, it would actually be the first decent F1 movie, I believe, that's actually been worthy of watching. I think there was an F1 movie like in the 60s or 70s. Can't remember what it's called, but I haven't seen it. So I can't really comment on that, but an F1 movie has been way too long. There was a Champ Car one called Driven with Sylvester Stallone, but the less said about that, the better. Just the less said about it. So moving on, this is actually the topic this week, and this is the first topic that I've selected that Nathan's actually been quite hyped for.
This one's great.
It is. I copied a link. I was reading it, and it said that the Times. I think it was the Times quoted Chris Pine as the modern day Harrison Ford, and I thought to myself, no way is Chris Pine a modern day Harrison Ford. That's just ridiculous.
Was Chris Pine ever before we go any further, was Chris Pine ever actually like a carpenter or anything prior to, like, because Harrison Ford got discovered just based off of being George Lucas's carpenter. He would have Harrison read in for parts because Harrison was there, and then they just decided to cast him as Han Solo, and the rest is history.
I can't comment on that, but I did find out something about Chris Pine when he did the rounds for Dungeons and Dragons. He actually went to university in Leeds, which is about 30, 40 miles away from where I live. And everyone's like, no way. So I don't know about carpentry, but he did some student work. But yeah,
did he do it on film? Because Harrison's whole thing was how he discovered what he did. Like, you can't just say he went to university in Leeds to figure out Dungeons and Dragons. Like, okay, congratulations, but it's not the same.
He did go to uni. I don't know the full story about it, but I think everyone was shocked when they discovered that he actually went to university at least. I would actually like to know if anybody actually went to university with him at that time. So I'm not going to say I don't know too much, so there's no point saying too much about it. But I will say one thing: Chris Pine is not a modern day Harrison Ford. You cannot have a modern day Harrison Ford.
No, you can't.
It's kind of like the whole point, and this has been discussed many a time, not just by us, but everyone. It's like, who's the next Michael Jordan, or who's the next Kobe Bryant, or who's the next Hakeem, or the next Shaq? You cannot.
No.
You cannot have that, because it doesn't matter what profession you're in. The minute you say this guy might be the next, you immediately curse them, because you're kind of like, shit, right? Everyone's saying I either resemble or I play like such, or I can do such and such did. The only problem is then you put immediate amounts of supreme pressure on them. It's like I said, it doesn't matter if it's movies or video games or basketball or anything. When I was a kid, I was actually quite happy with, some Kobe Bryant being the next Michael Jordan. But as I've got older, I've kind of got to the point where, in this day and age when mental health is probably the worst that it's ever been, that is not the best thing to really say to someone. Oh, yeah, I think you're the next Michael Jordan, or you're the next Kobe Bryant. Nobody wants to hear that. I mean, I think one of the quotes I actually had on my Facebook page, my personal one, was, I think Kobe Bryant was quoted saying once, I don't want to be the next Michael Jordan. I just want to be the first Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Which is probably the best way that you could answer that. But at the same time, that's kind of like saying, who's going to be the next Frankie Boyle? Nobody really wants that. Who's going to be the next Catherine Ryan? Who's going to be the next Holly Willoughby, female TV presenter my way? Pretty much every teenage boy fancies her, which isn't too far of a stretch of imagination, to be honest. But yeah, I just think that somebody saying that not only increases the pressure on what they already do, it will affect them more mentally than it ever will. Because back in the 90s, when everyone was like, oh yeah, he's the next Michael Jordan, nobody really bothered about it. Because, MJ was retiring. But at the same time, we wanted to know who was going to sort of take over the mantle from him. But then again, there was plenty of those who could have stepped up to the plate. Kobe could have been one of them. But the only thing Kobe wanted to do was just be the first Kobe Bryant. So he just played his heart out like he did. But the only thing is, nobody can be the next of anything because everything's changed. I mean, do you remember? I don't know if you remember this or not, Nate, but there was the whole who's the greatest of all time between Jordan, LeBron, and Kobe.
That still is happening right now.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though. This is what Shaq said. And he actually had Max Kellerman on this because I actually remember this discussion quite well. Shaq actually said to Max, he said, Max, I don't know about the statistics like you do, but it was along the lines of how many titles did LeBron win? I think it was something like this at the time. I think it was like about 4. I think it was. I said how many times?
It's still at 4. It's still at 4.
Yeah, and it was like how many times did he take it to 7 games? Because Jordan never did. Shaq said, "I rest my case."
Yeah,
back in the 90s, it was more physical because nowadays it's more slapping, really, isn't it? Whereas back in the day, as Max Kellerman said, "Like a man, you take it like a man." So as far as that typical discussion goes, it's irrelevant because different periods, the game was tough about then. But nowadays we've got more people. I mean, like that's in about 10 years, we're going to be saying who's going to be the next Kevin Durant or who's going to be the next Steph Curry. Nobody wants it because their bar is set too high for someone.
Well, here's the thing. I know why media does it.
I do as well.
Like I'm sorry. It's all about ratings and money. If you can, for somebody who is as impactful on the game or in the acting world as somebody like a Michael Jordan or Harrison Ford, well, of course you always want that because somebody can say, really, he's that good. Millions of people have watched Michael Jordan, know what he does. Millions of people have watched Harrison Ford, know what he does. Millions of people have watched Meryl Streep, know what she does. If you bill someone as being the second coming of this person or the natural evolution of this person, people are going to watch. People are going to listen. And right now, when money talks and when eyes on your product are more important than ever, you are going to be absolutely driven by these greatest of all time comparison, the next comparisons. I remember, and it's not even basketball related, but I remember a lot of people saying in the reviews for Batman Arkham Origins, when Troy Baker replaced Mark Hamill as the Joker, that it was a seamless transition, that Troy Baker is like a young Mark Hamill. No, he's not.
Nope.
I went into that. I've watched a few cutscenes, mind you, and Troy Baker, while being very, very good at the role, it's a good casting if you're not going to have Mark Hamill there, but it's not the same, and it actually had the opposite effect on me as it would most people, which is I never bought Arkham Origins. I never played Arkham Origins.
I have.
I didn't want to be anywhere near it because Mark Hamill wasn't the Joker, and it was incredibly obvious he wasn't.
Yeah. Just to include that point, it wasn't a great game. It wasn't done by Rocksteady. I think it was done by Ubisoft. I think it was done by who was it?
It was done by WB Montreal.
Yeah, Warner Brothers Montreal. I'll be honest with you, the game has a lot of flaws. Granted, it was a prequel, so obviously you won't get Mark Hamill, you won't get Kevin Conroy. I will say one thing, both voice actors, exquisite, absolutely brilliant in what they did. But at the same time, like Nathan said, if you have an Arkham game, you expect Conroy and you expect Hamill. This was at the time when Kevin was still alive. Yeah. At the same time, the game is just rubbish. So even if, to be honest with you, the game is too big, the game is too clunky. I hated it. I loved it at the time, but the more I kind of went, because after I played it, I went for Arkham Knight. Granted, Arkham Knight is not the best entry in the game, in the series.
No.
And I was kind of like, if I played Arkham Knight, do I really want to go back to Arkham Origins? And the simple answer is no. If I play Arkham Asylum or City, do I want to go back to Arkham Origins? The answer is no. because Arkham Asylum was probably one of the greatest games at that point. Arkham City came by, blew it out of the water. Arkham City, you could actually say, Nathan, a manner of speaking, was actually the T2 of Arkham.
Yeah, it really was.
But the only
expanded every piece of it.
Yeah, it was. The problem is, with Arkham Knight, it could have been better, but there was a lot wrong with it. Yes, you had Mark Hamill back after he said he wasn't coming back. You had Conroy, obviously. But what I didn't like was there was too much Batmobile in it. There was not enough. There was too much Batmobile and not enough Arkham City. That's what I didn't like about it.
Yeah.
Fine characters. I'm not going to say anything bad because I can't.
Fantastic.
John Noble, brilliant Scarecrow.
Fantastic.
I think
all of it. Fantastic.
Yeah, he's probably the best Scarecrow of all time. And I don't say that.
I don't know if I go that far, but I don't know he's a damn good Scarecrow.
But at the same time, well, think about Cillian Murphy as a sort of, I don't know what it is. I don't know what I can say about Cillian Murphy's voice without making it sound disrespectful. But John Noble's was more, I'll say, organic than Cillian Murphy's felt. And I think that's kind of why I think he is probably the best Scarecrow, because that was his normal voice, because he played which Legends of Tomorrow villain did he play?
That one I do not know off the top of my head.
Well, he played that one so well. And I'm kind of like, this is one of the guy who has probably got one of the most terrifying voices, but nobody really knows it.
Yeah.
But it's just a case of I'm waiting for the next Batman game they do, and then they say, right, this guy is going to replace Kevin Conroy. Automatically, whoever is picked is going to have a mountain to climb before they even start.
Oh yeah, doesn't matter who it was, but like old or new.
So immediately,
that is if Rocksteady's still doing it. You do know what happened with Suicide Squad, eh?
Oh God. Just so if anyone doesn't know, Suicide Squad been later next year. But again, this goes along the same lines of Colonial Marines. They delayed it about 5 times. Then when it came out, it was shit. So as much as I love Kevin Conroy, probably as much as next Batman fan does, but I will actually go back now and say I will not be pre-ordering Suicide Squad. If it would have come out first time they said, right, we're going to delay it, but we're going to re-release it, whatever time it was, that probably would have been a case of, right, I'll still pre-order it. They delayed it till next year, which it's what, April now? So May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December.
It's been delayed by about 10 months. Yeah.
Yeah, that's saying something about the game. So the thing is, just getting back on some,
even then, it's going to be a while before somebody looks at the Batman or the Justice League franchise and say, you're going to be the next Kevin Conroy. But when it happens, and you look at it, if you're not taking Batman in a significantly different direction, well, of course, people are going to have immensely high expectations, we'll say, because Kevin Conroy, to a lot of people, myself included, was Batman. I refuse to buy Batman, like video games for Batman, when Kevin Conroy is not Batman, and when Mark Hamill is not Joker. So that was my mantra for a very long time until Conroy has died. But if you're going to come in and tout someone as the next Kevin Conroy, well, of course it's going to put a lot of pressure on somebody, but you're doing it for the money. You may not do it because this person has the greatest performance in the world, which they could very well have. You're doing it for your money and your ratings and your clicks and your views.
But to be honest with you, I'll be honest, I've kind of really struggled with my mental health since lockdown, and I genuinely have. Now, if it was me and someone said I was next Kevin Conroy, that would not put me in the greatest mindset, because the immediate first thing I would think of is, oh shit, somebody thinks I'm the next Kevin Conroy. That's not good for me.
Go ahead, Dino, say the line. I'm vengeance. I'm the knight. I am British Batman.
I tell you what, is there actually somebody in DC who can actually make a British Batman? But no offense, but we've got a Captain Britain in the MC in the Marvel level.
No offense. You could also have Alfred the movie. It would work the same way. It'd be hilarious.
There is a Pennyworth TV series down the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, saying that I'm the next, I'll say I'm the next Kevin Conroy, let's say, because that's all automatically, that puts so much pressure on me. And I'll be honest with you, I sort of handle pressure better than somebody else, but at the same time, I probably would struggle to the point where it would consume me to the point where I'm never going to be good enough. So, particularly mental health, a really important time now. I think this is me personally, I think we should stop with the whole, this person is the next such and such, because all it's going to do is just make everybody think that they're not good enough for it. They'll do a test, let's say. They'll listen to the sentence and thinking, oh my God, this is not going to go well for me.
You know what was funny? I'm gonna pull back the curtain a little bit on Dr. J's self-help when I was doing that for you guys. So a lot of people told me before I even thought of Dr. J's self-help with Death Pixie that I sounded a lot like the Mark Hamill Joker.
He does. In his defense, he actually does.
Yeah, but to that end, I listen to I Go Loony by Mark Hamill, or the Only You from the Arkham City credits.
Yeah.
Or just go back and watch any of the Mark Hamill stuff. I think to myself, my God, I'm not like Mark Hamill at all. What the fuck is wrong with me? And, to be able to get over that because people won't buy your Joker in the homage that you're trying to do, because I love the Mark Hamill Joker. He's one of, if not my absolute favorite animated villains of all time. That's how good he is. But you go through, and there were times prior to recording for that, or anytime I put on the Joker voice, when I think to myself, this is crap. I don't want to do this. This is absolute crap. I don't want to do this. And it's like Dean said, that fear takes over in certain situations, where I think if you're not in the right mindset, it can make you second guess yourself. It can doom your career, whatever that may be, if you've got that pressure on you. I understand why people said that to me. I understand why people say that all around the world, but that doesn't change the fact that it does have a giant weight on you mentally, especially when you're first starting out. That can really sort of doom everything that you're doing. By the way, if you want to know how you get through it, it's simple. Get drunk off your ass before you ever start recording. Then you listen to yourself back and you think to yourself, oh, that's pretty good. And then you can work your way up to doing it sober or doing it on command. But at the end of the day, that fear is still there. It still lingers with you. You can either use it as motivation, which some people can, or it will clam you up and harm you more than it can help you.
I'll be brutally honest. First time I started this podcast, my knees were shaking just about every single interview I did for the first, 2-3 months. I was shaking because my heart was racing, because I was just absolutely afraid of what was going to happen. I was so nervous. I will say one thing though. Certain things over time do get better. I mean, I don't get nervous anymore. Occasionally there will be the odd one where I'm kind of like, oh crap. Oh, I can't do this in a minute because my heart is absolutely racing. But it's like it gets better over time. But there is a bit of a difference between starting your own podcast, doing it after so many years like we have, and then there's, like Nathan said, some people think you're like Mark Hamill. I would take that as a compliment, but at the same time...
And I do take it as a compliment now.
But it is kind of a curse at the same time.
But back when I was starting, I thought to myself, oh shit, no. Oh shit, no. Like, I'm sorry. I get requests all the time. That could be from friends, from family, from you guys, from Death Pixie, to do the voice now. And I take that as a compliment now.
Yeah, it's
But back in the day, oh God, no.
It's like he's only just recently started his Charles Martinet version of Mario. I think that's quite good.
Yeah. I have done that voice, the Charles Martinet Mario. I've done that voice for years. But you don't bring it out because at the end of the day, the Charles Martinet Mario is iconic as hell. It's been Mario's de facto voice for over 25 years.
Yeah.
You go to it, you listen to it, you do whatever the case may be, you know you're going to be compared to the Charles Martinet Mario. That's one of the reasons why the Super Mario Bros. Movie got heat before it came out, because people heard the Chris Pine Mario and instantly made comparisons to, well, what they had known for 25 years.
Yeah.
And is it unjustified? Maybe. I haven't seen it
yet, but
I haven't seen the movie. I'm just happy that Charles Martinet's in it.
Yeah. But just going off that, it's kind of like there's always been heat because obviously Heath Ledger's Joker, everyone was like, well, he's not exactly Jack Nicholson, is he? But to be fair, there are, like Heath Ledger's Joker, he blew that out of the water. Now, he is the benchmark for all future Jokers. Just like Jared Leto is not the benchmark for a Joker.
Ledger couldn't lick the spit from under my spat! Joe, bringing him up every week now! Why the hell do I come on this podcast?
Well, because they pay you, Puddin'.
Really? How much am I getting paid?
2 cents every million views.
Well, that's next to nothing.
Exactly, and then there's my finder's fee, and you're lucky to break even. Let's just say that, Puddin'.
It's not wrong.
That's wonderful.
Definitely not wrong.
Way to ruin my hopes and dreams.
But the fact of the matter is, I know that media glamorizes it to make a few headlines, but at the same time, if they had a conscience, they wouldn't do it.
You're gonna say that media has a conscience?
I said if they had a conscience, they wouldn't.
Yeah,
do
they don't.
They don't have. They don't have.
They don't. Even we don't. I just told kids, to if you know you're going to get in trouble and you got no other choice but trash your parents' house for a party, play the Beach Boys on top of it. Like, really, that's just asking for trouble.
Oh, we just offer advice. They don't have to take it. They probably got worse role models than us anyway. The minute they see American Pie, they will know how to make sure that they don't get caught and have a good time.
Well, see, here's the thing. The number one rule I can say, if that is your benchmark, get Eugene Levy to be your father. He's done just about everything.
He is, yeah. But yeah, so if there is anyone out there who we've either interviewed, had a chat with, if anyone ever says that you are the next, whoever it may be, I would just take you with a pinch of salt. Look at nothing into it. Just do your own thing, because that is the best way to be nowadays.
Absolutely.
In the past, there was too much pressure. It's like, who's the next Michael Jordan? That instantly fills everyone's hearts with dread. But when you have someone like Kobe who did actually say, I don't want to be the next Michael Jordan, I just want to be the first Kobe Bryant. That is the mentality that you need to have.
Yeah, you have to have that Mamba mentality. And it's interesting that you brought Kobe Bryant up, because a lot of what he did to be the first Kobe Bryant was to emulate a lot of Michael Jordan's moves. A lot of what Kobe did was very similar to Michael Jordan's moves. And you saw people back in the day and even now analyzing it bit by bit, even though Kobe is unfortunately no longer with us. So it's interesting in that, being the first Kobe Bryant, you did take a lot of inspiration from Michael Jordan. And it's easy to see why you wanted to distance yourself from that, like we just talked about. And it's interesting how much you actually took in order to distance yourself from that.
I would actually consider, how about considering this another way? He did want to be the first Kobe Bryant, but doesn't mean he didn't take inspiration from Jordan.
Absolutely.
There is that way to look at it. Others would say, well, he's just copied Jordan. But the other thing is, if he would have copied Jordan, they would have just said he's the next Michael Jordan. He didn't. He distanced himself, got into his own mind, said, "Right, I'm gonna look to MJ for inspiration. That's all I'm gonna do." But do you want to know what the really worst next compliment you can have?
What?
Who's next? Chris Nolan.
Okay, now to be fair, I agree with you 120%. There are so many directors out there who are better than Christopher Nolan. I mean, really, when you look at Christopher Nolan, the word overrated comes into play so many different times on so many different occasions.
Hey, I remind
How
you,
many people wanted to see the Snyderverse? We want the Snyderverse, they all said. But if anybody said anything about wanting the Christopher Nolan verse, we don't need that hack anymore. He can't do anything. Only a British bloke named Dean still likes him.
Well, we'll test that theory out in July, shall we? Because his new movie's coming out.
Ooh, which movie is that? How to Blow Up in 7 Days?
Well, near enough, because it's actually a movie about Robert Oppenheimer, who developed the atom bomb.
Holy crap! I was just taking a shot in the dark.
Yeah, and it's got Cillian Murphy in it. It's got probably one of the best all-star casts I've ever seen. The trailer's actually out as well. The trailer was actually out as well. I think it's been out for a couple of weeks, but being, like you said, being the Chris Nolan fan that I am, I'm absolutely looking forward to it. But I fear the worst he is the next you can get would be the next Chris Nolan. That would probably be the worst compliment that anyone could ever pay anyone. Or even the next James Cameron, or the next Hans Zimmer, or John Williams. If anyone just said the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, well, the first thing I'd do is, well, hold on, we've got the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, just go and see Toto Wolff.
Yep. Now, here's the thing. I know a way to take that compliment and turn it into a positive. Just tell someone that they're going to be the next Daffy Duck.
Oh, yeah.
Because you could take that and say it's the ultimate compliment in the world, or you can just say you're despicable and do your own thing.
In fact, the toughest one would be the next Chris Nolan, but the worst possible one that you could think of would be the next Piers Morgan.
That would be great. That would be great. So what are you saying? I have no talent. I'm a hack who just shows up on BBC News and spouts whatever opinion I find in the news that day.
Well, actually, I think the talking point would be I literally am hosting Good Morning Britain with Susanna Reid, and I basically interrupt people every 5 seconds because I have a tactic that does not...
Dane, hang on just a second. I'm having this tea here, and it's very nice. And why don't you have any tea if you're supposed to be British?
I've actually had tea, actually. I've had 2 sets of tea. I've had a cup of tea, which I've just had, and I've had my tea.
Well, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. See, those aren't actually teas. I'm British. I know what teas are. I'm Piers Morgan. Go ahead, ask me anything.
There is one thing I want to ask Piers Morgan, but I am not saying it on here because it could get me cancelled. The thing is, Piers Morgan's highly controversial for the reason that he's at. And to be honest with you, I've known some of the arguments that he's had, and I don't really want them on here because that's not how we designed this podcast.
No, it's not.
It is not. I don't mind we don't mind the friendly arguments, the difference of opinion, but there is some bits we don't go to. We'll happily say, like, what is the benefits and the negative parts of saying I am the next, which is what this topic is. But we will not say anything, we'll say Piers Morgan-esque, because that's not what this podcast is.
I can have a cookie at 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. and nobody will care because I'm Piers Morgan.
I'm Piers Morgan, and I actually do know this. I'm Piers Morgan who will insult a vegan and have a steak and eat a steak right in front of them.
Okay, that is just crazy.
He has actually done that.
I am both impressed and terrified. Oh God.
But so I don't really think we need. We could say.
Oh, I think we covered everything, man.
Yeah. So if anyone is ever being quoted as being the next next to whoever it is. Just a few words of advice. 1, don't even listen to it. 2, get it out of your mind. 3, think I'm going to be the first me. I will take inspiration, but that will be it.
4, if you can actually take that advice and use it as inspiration, forget rules 1 to 3. If it helps you, fantastic. If it doesn't, dear God, listen to the Brit.
But yes, rule number 5, if anyone ever says you are next Chris Nolan, Ryan Reynolds, James Cameron, Hans Zimmer, or anyone like that, that is when you should literally curl into a ball and just stay in your house.
Rule number 6, if anyone says that you're the next member of the script, please send your 8.5 by 11 to me, the producer.
Actually, do you know what? I'm glad you mentioned the script because it's actually quite hard to say this, actually. Guitarist Mark Sheehan, who a lot of people might actually already know this, he passed away on Friday. Me and the producer were absolutely mortified and gutted, and we absolutely send our whole heart-hearted condolences to Danny, Glenn, and Mark's family. By the way, the family has asked for privacy at this point, so the only thing I'm going to say as far as that goes, or the only thing we're going to say is, we don't know what's gone on, but we do hope that everything is all right as far as Mark's family and Danny and Glenn goes.
For anyone who doesn't know the impact of the script or what they can have, I don't think I've ever read a message from our producer that reeks of devastation.
Yeah.
And she asked us to do a minute of silence on behalf of Mark. And we both said no.
I think we said no, but the only thing is there's a difference between having a minute silence and having what we usually do, which is a 10-bell salute, which is what say wrestlers do who's passed away. So I say we're going to have a 10-bell salute.
Yeah. But even then, just it reeked of devastation.
It was. I've actually been to see them many a time. The producer's actually been more. Mark was a great fella. Every time I went there, they were always happy to see everyone. This is not just Mark. This is all of them. Mark was actually. I think Mark and Glenn actually smiled. Well, Mark actually smiled at me once. Now the only problem is, and I'm going to take it a little bit away. This is the sort of news that really devastates me totally because there has actually been others that aren't here anymore. Kevin Conroy is obviously one of them. Wes Craven's one. Toby Hooper's one. Gunnar Hansen. These are all people that I wish I could have interviewed, but the opportunity either never came or something happened. So I'm equally mortified, not only because he's no longer here, but I will never be able to, say to him, like, I've been to a load of your concerts. I really enjoyed myself. And you guys are absolutely brilliant. I will never, ever get that opportunity. And I'm absolutely sad and mortified that I will never, ever get to say that to him. So I do hope everything's all right in the script land with those guys. So they have our condolences and they have our deepest sympathies. So with that, Nath, how about we just do, we'll do 2 socials considering we can't do.
No. All right. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? We play rock, paper, scissors, Red Rover. I don't know what you play.
Mine's the shortest one, so I'll go first.
Do it.
So you can find me on Final Cut Official. You can also find me on YouTube on Final Cut Director's Cut Podcast. We're sort of discussing about when to actually start releasing these as YouTube videos, but that plan is very much in the context, but we're just not sure when yet.
You can find me on www.deathpixie.ca if you want to talk to me about voiceover opportunities or commission me for some of your own. www.deathpixie.ca is the best way to get a hold of me. There are projects in the works from Death Pixie and outside of it for me, so get a hold of me when you can, just in case I become super busy and not available. www.deathpixie.ca.
And Benjamin Walsh is
DGen Sigma on Twitter. Yeah. And you can also find him at DGen Wrestling on YouTube. where he goes over wrestling predictions with yours truly. And in the case of WrestleMania, where he fails.
By the way, how much did you fork out for fried chicken that day?
Okay, so anytime we go for fried chicken, it's usually about $25 to get what we get.
You order the most, whoever loses, or sorry, whoever wins, do they get the most expensive thing on the menu?
So basically, it's whoever wins gets their fried chicken meal comped, whatever it is. And so for me, what I usually get is a 4-piece meal, and they're huge pieces of chicken, and wedge fries of some sort, either waffle or wedge, side of gravy, a drink, and then as we're leaving, depending on how my old stomach is holding up, I usually get a chicken sandwich to go and a bunch of other stuff like that. It ends up being quite lucrative for the person who wins. And as part of WrestleMania, me winning for WrestleMania was very, very nice. I will say.
So yes, anyone who and prospective podcasters, if you want to make things spicy, just say right, the loser has to pay for the other's KFC, or in Nathan's case, fried chicken.
Ugh, not KFC. The thing is trash.
And expensive as well.
It's expensive trash.
Exactly. So that's our sponsorship with KFC gone up to Swanee.
Well, if they would have better chicken, I'd be more than happy to say they got better chicken.
Although saying that, I do have a lot of Mackies, so if McDonald's ever wants to sponsor me, that's fair enough. Just give me free food for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Also, send the gold card on my way too, please.
Nando's, I would love a black card because I can walk into any Nando's whenever I want. But they are very few and far between. I do know, I think Ed Sheeran's got one, or I don't know if he's still doing them or not, but I think Ed Sheeran's got one.
He probably would.
But then again, why would Ed Sheeran got one? He's got a restaurant in Notting Hill, which is absolutely better than a Nando's.
Yeah, but there's a difference between owning one and then just walking into somewhere and getting free food.
Yeah, there is that. But then again, it's a very posh restaurant. If anyone ever is in Notting Hill, I'm going to give them a bit of promotion now because they do actually do very good food. If anyone's ever in Notting Hill, go by Portobello Road, go by Bertie Blossoms, and spend. Well, just have a meal in there. There's a fair bit on there, but I always have the vodka pasta alla rigatoni. It's absolutely gorgeous. It really is. I would happily go there if I was rich. If we were rich, I literally would go there about 3 times a week just because that's how much I love the food. Oh, by the way, if anybody does happen to run into Maria, the hostess, she's absolutely lovely. She will take care of you. Nothing is too much for her.
See, vodka pasta, you've just got 2 of my favorite things rolled into one. It sounds really good.
I actually had a Greek dish a load of years ago called chicken aphilia, where it's basically, think of it as like a Sunday roast, but your chicken is marinated in red wine. Basically, you have all the benefits of wine with none of the alcoholic drawbacks.
Yep.
Which is pretty good. So
it's beautiful.
So next week, ladies and gentlemen, we will be starting our own food documentary.
Oh, hooray! We're actually doing it. You approved it. Oh, it's gonna be great.
We might do it, but honestly,
come on! You got me all excited now.
Oh, we got to think about this. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week when we're actually not in the food documentary stage. So see you next week.
We're not?
As always.
Crush my heart with a wooden stake, why don't you?
In time, perhaps. But the only problem is you're 3,000 miles away, and I also have that problem.
With a wooden stake, dude!
I know.